Welcome everybody to Service Drive Revolution, the favorite show of NASA, the Westminster Dog Show,
Tesla,
and people everywhere in South America.
Huge in Belize.
I am Chris Collins. This is Jeremy O'Neill.
hello, Chris.
Christian Lafferty, and we are fans of high-performing service drives, shops. We like to collect what the high performers are doing and share it with the world.
Ooh.
And add in a little bit of our expertise, right?
Absolutely.
On today's show, we're going to talk about your secret advantage, and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to pull out this nuclear weapon and deploy it. It's free.
Speaking of nuclear,
Free nuclear weapon, Jeremy.
how do you live down here?
In downtown LA?
Yes,
I'm starting to wonder that myself.
like OMG,
Why?
LOL.
Did you
Get
see
me
the
out
I
of
don't know
news?
about the LOL, but OMG for sure.
LOL stands for
Laugh Out
Out
Loud.
Loud.
Something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
that's what the kids are calling it these days.
yeah. It's every time I come down here, it's like time warp, different Armageddon. It looks like post-apocalyptic.
It's terrible. The worst leadership. The governor of California is a moron. The mayor of LA, the worst leadership ever. Like, I wouldn't even understand.
Well, it's because he gets paid for everything he does. He takes bribes and all sorts of stuff. Do you know that?
You think the homeless are bribing him?
Well, no, I think the food company that supplies food for the homeless is bribing the
Well,
mayor.
Wow, I like
Maybe.
the level on that. You know, I am starting to feel bad
You're
for the
prone to
homeless.
conspiracy, though.
Yeah,
You are?
I'm starting to feel bad for the homeless.
You have some compassion for them?
Maybe not for the homeless. I feel bad for the homeless's dogs
Well,
because
I'm a
because they
pet
must
lover.
be saying, "This is the longest walk ever."
You stepped right in that, Jeremy. You didn't even see it coming.
I did, yeah.
He slapped you with that joke.
I wouldn't call that a bitch slap.
Oh,
It was a tickle.
It clearly was.
It was
We
not.
could play back the video.
No,
It's
no,
clearly.
no. It was
So
not.
I go to get a gun because I want more guns.
Are you allowed to say that in the state of California?
Yeah, right.
You should be.
So there's like a test because all of my experience with guns were in Washington. And so down here, like, it's a different system, right? So I go and take the test.
I forgot
there's
you
a
had to take
test.
a written test on it.
What did you get on the written test? It's 30 questions, I think.
I passed.
I got 100%.
Did you really?
Nice work.
Yeah.
Nice.
The only two questions that I wasn't sure about and I guessed were how old you had to be to get a gun, and there was another one kind of worded the same, like something about how old you had to be to get a gun. They were kind of the same question. And it's 21, by the way. I guessed 21 and I was right. Everything else I got right. So then I passed the test and then I go, okay, I want a Glock. I say that to the guy and he goes, oh, no, not here. The only Glocks that we can sell in California are the ones from Austria. Even though Glock has a factory here in Georgia or whatever, you can't buy the American Glocks here. You can only buy the old school Austrian ones, and they only import you're only allowed to sell 700 of them a year, and you got to pay $2,100 to be on that list.
Wow.
It's a total joke. So what you have to do is get somebody who's moved from another state and then buy their gun if you want one of the better Glocks.
Or a police officer.
They have no inventory.
None.
Nothing.
Wow.
It's a joke.
Now I see why you said that our governor is a moron. I understand now.
Well, that's not the reason. There's, bigger reasons than that.
That's
but,
one of them, though, right?
I mean, it's just failure at the worst level. And he's out of money, right? And he wants more money, but he couldn't manage the money he had before. How are you going to manage it? It's a disaster. But I don't think anybody listening to the show cares about politics in California. But
All of our friends from
I
out of
agree
state,
with
they're-
what you're saying. We're having a hard time justifying living here. They're going to raise taxes on us. I probably get asked once a day by somebody in the office or somebody at home when we're going to Texas. I don't necessarily think that Texas is my favorite spot.
But there's a difference that's changed in the last 6 months. So when I used to come down here at the first part of the year, after we'd be done shooting, I'd grab a scooter and I'd go do some shopping and hang out, and just it felt really cool to be in downtown. And today I literally was afraid for my life as a guy was walking down the street with a 5-gallon jug of gasoline with a rag sticking out of it, looking very menacing. And it was. I hadn't seen anybody. It didn't look like he owned a car, but he had the jug of gas.
No,
so.
and for some reason this bridge is a target. Like, no, was it 3 weeks ago when the guy blew his arm off?
Oh, that's right.
But there was a guy, you hear a huge explosion. Like, it sounds like a Ryder truck blew up and went outside, and this guy literally was lighting a piece of dynamite or something, I don't know, and blew up his whole arm on that bridge. Like, they throw stuff off that bridge onto the freeway.
There was a clown out there before.
Oh, the clown was nice. He was
You didn't
nice. I
remember
missed
the
the
clown?
clown.
No, clowns freak me out.
You never saw the clown? There was this guy that would just, like, he didn't have a job.
Make people
but
laugh.
he would just stand there dressed up like a clown and wave at everybody and say hi.
I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but I don't know where he went. He's gone. But yeah, no, I don't. It's terrible down here.
Just so everybody knows who is listening or watching, these are the lengths that we go through to actually provide this content for you. So we care about our listeners and our watchers.
But you have a Glock.
I do.
How did you buy the Glock? I can't buy a Glock.
Private party.
Yeah, so that's what I have to do.
I bought it from the Mexican Mafia.
The cartel.
MS-13. They come by my shop every day. They leave their mark.
Did you go into a gun shop and do the whole?
Yeah.
You did.
I only missed one question on the test.
So you got to take somebody who's going to sell you the gun into the gun shop, and then they transfer.
Yeah, they hold the gun for the waiting period. They do the transfer, and 14 days later, whatever,
Yeah.
you go pick it up.
Does
What
the gun
happens if
company
you
get a cut of
if
that
you
somehow?
pay the
No.
guy for the gun and then you don't pass the 10-day test?
So then you don't do the exchange of money until after the transfer period's done, when you go to
okay.
pick the gun up.
So that's what I got to do.
Yep.
Because I've never had a Glock. I want a Glock, but
I'd sell you mine, but I like it too much.
no, yeah, you should keep it.
I'm going to.
I'll figure it out. Now, if I move back to Washington,
You really just have to have a heartbeat, and you can get the Glock.
no, they do it. But you could have a concealed weapon. If you're a good citizen and you don't have a record,
You're good.
yeah. That was another question on the test I kind of struggled with. If you're a felon, can you not have a gun for 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, or life?
I'm going to guess life.
Yeah, it's life. Good job.
I'm
got
ready
that
to
one
take
right.
the test too, I think.
You are.
I read it's like a 40-page manual. I just read it and then took the test.
I don't know if I should tell you guys a question that I missed or not, or just let you guess.
You can open a loop and we can
I
come
can
back
tell
to it
you the
later.
person I was with missed 2 questions that were kind of the same, and it was hilarious. What was the question you missed?
So if you have to use your gun in self-defense, when should you
Yes, so that's
stop?
the question they missed.
Right.
So if
When should you stop using it?
when should you stop? No, it's worded like when is it no longer appropriate or something to defend yourself?
Right.
And you put never.
When the magazine is empty.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I support both
Well,
of
the
you on
answer
that.
to the question is when they're no longer a threat,
Right.
which is if they put their hands up or run
say-
away.
When I'm out of bullets, that's what I said. Then
It's
I
worth
hit
it
them
for the
with
miss just to get your point across, right?
Not in California, bro. You can't even shoot somebody if they break into your house, right?
Yes, you can.
No, not if they're not armed.
Oh well, they're armed. I didn't tell you about the story of the. Okay, so year one of Freedom Auto Repair. It's about 9:30 in the morning, and my technician Kevin comes like, "Hey, you need to come out." I'm like, "Dude, I'm busy. Just go handle these." No, someone's trying to steal your car, and it's like my Jetta that was on the lot behind the fence. So I go out there, and there's this guy in the car trying to start it and all this, and so I walk
Was
up.
the car locked?
I don't remember.
But he got in the car.
He got in the car, yes. So he comes out and we get into an altercation.
So wait. Is the door open to the car or?
He's in the car with the door open.
Okay, so you walk up and say, "Hey."
Yeah. hello, sir. What are you doing in my car?
Did you have an
May I
appointment?
I was just about to call you.
So you walk up and you go, did you have an appointment? And then the guy starts swinging?
Oh, we got in a really pretty cool fist fight.
So who
But
swung?
he pulled a knife on me.
You got to be more descriptive. I got to hear the story here. So he comes out. He's coming
Okay,
at you.
He's sitting in the car. I grab him and say, "Hey,
Oh,
mother
you
effer,
pull him
what
out.
are you doing in my
and you pull him
car?"
out.
Yes. So then we get into it.
So
During that time, he pulls a knife.
does he get
on
in
me.
a punch?
No. I got in. Yeah, I know.
And then how big is
the?
the knife that he
Nice.
pulls?
That was about. It was pretty big at the time. It was like 3 inches, whatever.
Okay.
So, anyway, so that unfolds, and then he takes off. So it's like a scene out of Cops. I'm on the phone with 911. I'm chasing this guy down the street in Main Street, Hesperia. He's going.
And do you
across-
have your gun on you?
No.
Oh, you bought the gun after this.
Yeah. So, no. Long story short,
So
runs
he
down
pulls
street.
the knife just to get you to leave him alone.
No, he tried to stab me with it.
And what karate
I blocked
move?
it and then came up. And,
Is that wax on or wax off?
That's wax off.
Let's see. No, paint the fence.
Oh, yeah.
Paint the fence. Huh?
Everything you need to
that.
know
Little
about
Karate
karate.
Kid
That's why I
reference.
wear Doc Martens.
So you didn't think about doing the crane?
Well, I did.
You
So
did the
I
crane?
blocked and I hit, and then I went like that, right? So then that was the blow that kind of made him leave. And so I'm running down the street chasing this guy.
Does he still have the knife?
No, he didn't have it on him when he got there. He had dropped it. So I picked it up, and I'm chasing him. And finally, I'm on the phone with the dispatcher. She's like, "Sir, you need to calm down." I'm like, "I'm not calming down. You need to get the cops here and all this." So she's like, "Where are you at right now?" I said, "Well, I'm right here." He's going across the street. So there's an AM/PM and a 7-Eleven across the street. So he goes over to the 7-Eleven.
He's got to have a slushy after all that.
Well, I know, right?
excitement,
He needs a Slurpee, right? Comes back to the AM/PM, and then the cop rolls up, flashes the light, hits the siren, and he bolts to the 7-Eleven. I'm like, "Oh, hell no, you're not getting away from me." So I chase him into the 7-Eleven. He opens the door, and I tackle him in. Hit a display. His product goes everywhere. The girl's screaming, and I just...
And where's the cop?
He's watching me beat up.
Eating
the
a
guy.
donut?
Yeah, he did. He had a pink glazed donut. No, he did not. Yeah, he's all, "Okay, that's enough. Get up." So that was it. So I had to go to court over the whole thing and everything. So
So that doesn't negate what I said, though. If they come in your house here and you shoot them and they're not armed,
they're always armed.
You're not
it's
allowed to
probably
assume
a
that.
threat of some sort, right?
He had a knife on him.
No, I'm saying just in general.
They're always armed. I'm just telling you, they're always armed.
You can't assume that, bro.
They're always armed.
You can't assume that.
I'm not assuming anything. I'm just telling you the truth.
What, you just take out a steak knife and put it in their pocket?
I
Like-
didn't tell you to do that, but they're always armed.
What a great look on his face, though, when you.
Why are your
suggested that.
fingerprints on his knife? I don't.
We were fighting. What do you want? I was afraid for my life.
Yeah. Too, like, you got to make all these decisions in the middle of the night when you wake up.
Yeah, and you have a
randomly,
split
like-
second to figure it out. That's crazy.
The only thing I got going for me is I'd have 4 bulldogs to deal with first. I know
My stepdad
one of my
always told-
bulldogs would do some damage.
My stepdad always told me, if you ever shoot somebody on your property, you better drag them into the house. Okay.
Yeah. You guys should live in like Kentucky or Oklahoma or something.
What do you think the high desert is?
It's Kentucky and
It's-
Oklahoma.
Now, what do you guys
Yeah.
have against Kentucky and Oklahoma?
The secret advantage, your nuclear weapon, and it's free.
I'm glad I took notes on this one.
Yeah.
Communication.
Such an important
It's
word.
90% of everything. And it's not just for advisors to customers, it's for leaders to their employees. It goes both ways, right?
The leadership one is probably harder.
So that's interesting because I think that a lot of leaders, especially when they're new, and I'll get this from female managers a lot where they'll say, well, you know, I just got to be mean or I just got to be a bitch, that sort of thing. And I'm always like, no, that's not the answer. The answer is to address it right away before it gets pent up. You're letting people walk on you and you're not telling them the truth. You got to give instant feedback. You got to push in, not step back and let them people usually are trainable and will take direction, but if you just leave them to do their thing and you just internalize it, you become passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that, I think when something happens, we have a story that loops in our brain, and we actually create a more dramatic situation than the truth actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you overreact because you feel like you've been taken advantage of. But really what's happened is you haven't had boundaries and you haven't stood up for yourself.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's about over communicating. The other thing too is we think like we say something to employees once and they remember it. You got to say it every day, all the time. I always say the analogy of the same sales meeting we had on Friday 20 years ago is the one they're going to have this Friday, right? It's about demos. It's the same stuff. You got to say the same thing over and over again. If you were coaching a basketball team, it's the same thing. Football, it's, you got to block and tackle. And
Yep.
it's all about the fundamentals. We assume that people know the fundamentals, but you got to over communicate and remind them of the fundamentals and do it in different ways. Gamify it, tell stories, share successes, profile people that are doing it right. So if you have some employees that are doing it, make them into a big deal and praise them for it. You can't just come at it one way every time. It gets boring. You have to really make an effort to over communicate what our expectations are, what the customer experience needs to be, what the basics are over and over again. It never stops. You're a broken record.
It really comes down to the point where there's almost no such thing as over communicating.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say, let's say technician to advisor. I've never heard a technician say that person gives me way too much information, right? Or that leader going down to an advisor or an employee, like that person over communicated what their expectations were, right? Like the over is the minimum.
And then I think you always have to end that with, okay, tell me what you're taking away.
Confirmation,
from this.
for sure.
So they understand, because even sometimes they think that what you're trying to say is different than what you're trying to say, and that can be a lesson to you in how you're communicating or how the person learns or thinks about things. But you have to understand also they're looking through a lens or a context that can affect how they understand what you're saying. So you think that what you're explaining to them is obvious and common sense, and to them, nobody's ever told them that before.
Right.
So over communicate.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I try to do is eliminate verbal communication. And I know it's impossible in our day and age.
Just sign language?
No, we have
Smoke signal?
So what is that, telegraph?
Morse code?
Morse
is that what
code?
it is? Yeah.
Do you know Morse
Dots and
code?
dashes?
No, we have
Get your up and stop asking people if they have an appointment. Answer the phone. How do you not communicate verbally?
digitally. You write everything down. We have a digital communication system that we can put notes and everything in. What I meant by verbal communication is we're running at 300 miles an hour, especially as high-performing service advisors or shop owners. And we could go through, like I do this with my assistant all the time. I'll tell her 5 things in one sentence. I said number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and she heard 5, but she thought it was on car number 1.
Yeah.
I was talking about 5 different cars.
Got it.
So, well, no,
Right.
you said John Smith. I said, well, no, I said that like 30 seconds ago. Now we're on to Mr.
Yeah,
Frederickson.
so the verbal gets jumbled.
Yes.
Where this becomes a nuclear weapon with customers is, I think the thing that advisors miss is that if you call customers when they don't expect it, and you call them before they're even thinking about you, you are making deposits in the future and building trust that no other service advisor is doing. Most service advisors aren't calling at all, or are calling, kind of at the end of the timeline of when a customer is expecting the call. If you call when you don't have any information and just say, hey, it's next to going to the shop, or it's, we're on track, how's work, and just kind of communicate with them, that's different than any other advisor out there.
Yep.
And it is a nuclear weapon. Like if you called somebody, we call it the 2-hour call in our advisor training, but if you called somebody and were just like, hey, did you make it to work okay? They're like, oh yeah, is it going good? Okay, well, the car's in line. We should have somebody looking at it here in the next hour or so. I just wanted to give you a little update. That's like priceless.
They
and
have
it's
to hang
so
up the
easy.
Yeah, they have to hang up the phone and look and be like, was that really my service person that just called me and gave me an
Yeah.
update call before I had to call them? The beauty of our industry is the bar is so low on
So
communication.
low.
It's ridiculously low, and our opportunity's never been better because we have a phone, we have texting abilities, right, where we can actually just snap a little bit of information to somebody, they look it on their phone, and then they're good and they make communicated. We've got email, smoke signals, as we referred to earlier.
Or a telegraph.
Or telegraph. But we've got so many ways to communicate with the customers.
I was going to say, though,
2, 3,
no,
4, 5.
If it's a millennial, they look at the phone like, why in the hell did you call me? Like,
No, you gotta send
me
them
a text.
emojis.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, so it's
You
all
send them like a car with a poop thing and then a fist
Dollar
pump
sign afterwards?
and a couple stars.
Right.
You got to
and then
learn
the
that
car,
language.
poop sign, dollar sign, thumbs up, high five.
Right. That means you need front brakes.
Yes, perfect. That's good.
Wow.
It's all
Yeah,
about
I need to learn that.
proactive communication. It's about being proactive. We've been doing something in the last couple weeks that in the morning when we get in, before we start getting the inflow of intake, is the cars that are held overnight, we make a communication with that customer, whether it's a text or a phone call. So before 8:30 a.m., we're giving you the plan for the day.
Nobody stole your car overnight. It's still
Right,
here.
and
It's
then-
next in line.
It's amazing. The amount of incoming calls in the afternoon for statuses are gone. We love it. So it's great.
Yeah, it's
That's the
great.
goal.
Okay, should we answer some questions?
I want to talk about guns more.
That could be a 7-part episode.
That could be.
You know, so it's interesting, but you were sharing the idea that was it a friend or who was it that was talking about the independence versus dealership?
Oh yeah.
And what did they say?
Good client of ours. He's a university professor, teaches marketing. He's hey, I watched the podcast last week. He said great topics, but you guys missed one, right? And I said, what did we miss? He said, trust. So it was all about trust. So that's coming up.
So why would you trust an independent more than a dealer?
Well, there's a number of reasons why we would do that. That's for next episode, right?
It is?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
But in the meantime,
Hold
so I walked into this place the other day.
Saved by the joke.
I recognized the opportunity and came back into it. So
You can't laugh
so, yeah,
at your own joke before
I
you
have
get it
no
out.
choice. It's
It's
just
so
He's
they're
funny.
sitting next to me.
This joke
Come
is
on,
so
he's sitting
funny.
next
That
to
can't-
me.
You're
Okay,
gonna
start
love it.
over.
You're gonna
Start
love
over.
it.
Okay.
So I walk into this place the other day and it says bar.
What kind of place?
I'll get to that. And I walk up to the counter and I say, I'll have a tequila. And the guy looks at me and says, sir, this is Apple and that's the Genius Bar. I said, I'm so sorry. I'll have the iTequila 12. See, I told you it was funny,
This guy walked into a bar.
right?
What kind of jokes or what kind of questions?
Holy moly, you
Do we
left
have
the voice
God?
of God speechless today.
To the voice of God, every question is a joke in and of itself. It is funny watching you tiny humans fret. Question number 1. Hello, Chris. I recently switched dealerships to be closer to home. I'm a service advisor and have been one for about 10 years. I'm having a hard time fitting in at the new dealership. It's a small town atmosphere and a very relaxed environment. The two biggest things that I can't get my head around is letting customers have loaner vehicles for extended periods of time for simple repairs, while we have to turn down other customers due to not having courtesy transportation. Then we're being told that the department is not profitable, but told to let the customer have a loaner for 5 days for an oil change and detail. My mind will not ignore that we're losing money on that transportation, and big picture, we're missing opportunities on other vehicles due to not having a vehicle available for major repairs. My next concern is dealership charge accounts. They tell us to not let customers have a tab at the dealership, but then as soon as the customer talks to management, they fold and let them do an internal charge, sometimes up to a $10,000 repair. Then, when the customer misses payments or doesn't pay, the writer gets blamed. It also makes the writer come off as the bad guy and the manager come off as the hero just by the writer following policy. Any advice on what I should do?
I have a couple things I'd like to say on this, but I'll let Chris go first.
have your dealer call us and we'll set up a strategy session. If they're losing money, that's the first thing.
It sounds like chaos over there. I mean, there's just no systems in place. It's just kind of, like you said, small town, right? Kind of just like mom and pop. The first thought I wrote down is they're using their loaners as a crutch. So the loaner becomes a crutch for, a lack of execution within the shop. So get over the loaner thing. Just, get your own, let them do what they're going to do. It's interesting listening to that whole story he switched dealerships, or he or she switched dealerships to be closer to home. And now it's kind of like they want to plug into the system and just let that system feed them. So don't complain that their system is broken. Go create your own little business within this business, right? So go out and get your own customers, create your own client base, and do the business you'd want to do it. Don't worry about the dealership charge account. Let them do what they're going to do. Go out and find your own clients and build your own little business. And within 2 or 3 years, you'll have a rocking business.
Yeah, what's great about little markets or little towns like that is if you go to the local restaurant for lunch and make friends and go to any event and really, really talk to customers and get to know them, they're the most loyal, word travels fast. You become the service advisor of record for that town.
That's right.
So I don't know, I would go practice charisma and networking and get out and about and meet people. And the system, like you said, get us on with the deal and we'll try to help with the systems on our end. Because it just sounds like the systems are broken. There isn't a real plan. They're doing the best they can, but they don't understand there's a better way. But man, what better than to write service in a little town and know everybody by name? And
you get to be the mayor of the town.
you go
right?
to the grocery store and they know you.
Yep.
Like everybody's a potential client. It's the greatest.
It is.
Did you have any jokes to add to that?
No, I thought that was actually really good. Well written, by the way. If the service advisor thing doesn't work
Now we're
out,
critiquing
we
their
could be an
grammar?
author, right?
Really?
I thought that was really well written.
Wow.
I only got lost 3 times during it.
Yeah.
You're not a victim. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you're in a state where you can buy a Glock, go buy a Glock.
Any other questions, God?
Everybody gets a Glock. One more question. This one comes from YouTube. Hi guys, really enjoy your videos. I'd like to know more about the level 1 diagnostic test and the billing strategy behind that. So many times I may have a technician that wants 3 hours diagnostic for one specific issue after printing a diagnostic report. It really burns when you approve that and come to find out the tech figures it out in half the time or less. I find it hard to go to the customer with that news, and many times end up eating the cost just to keep the customer happy. Ultimately, the customer is happy, but really are they? I would love to hear all about the levels of diagnostic testing and the pay structure for the technicians. For now, I've enforced a very strict booking time policy. The customer turnout has been better than ever. I notice, as you both know, if a customer leaves feeling like they were taken care of, they will tell the world, and in turn, more happy customers. It spreads like wildfire. Thank you!
Clearly a new fan because we've answered this question.
I gotta say though, I've got to give it up to the voice of God.
Yeah,
'cause
that was really good.
That was like a performance.
Holy
Shakespearean.
That was
Shakespearean, right?
There's a warm glow in my heart and soul.
What was that, God? What was the part about burning? Burning sensation?
Uh,
I instantly thought about herpes.
It really burns when you approve that and come to find out the tech figures out in time.
Yes, we
Okay,
have
so
handled this
we've
one
answered
before.
this. Jeremy has some genius, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on it. So,
Well, so if you're gonna attack it by selling diagnostic time, 2 things you have to remember. Number 1, when we're doing the art of diagnosing the car, we're not generating parts revenue with that service. So we need to adjust our rate accordingly for that. We go over that in detail in our on-demand program and also in our coaching. So if you need help with that, let us know. The other thing is this: don't get hung up on your technician's time. So there was an expert that was a person that could fix power plants, and the nuclear power plant was going to melt down. So they flew him in on a helicopter. He goes in, he's there for, 15, 20 minutes, finds the problem, says, change this valve, it'll fix your problem. Now, mind you, this whole entire time, the alarms are going off, city's in a lockdown because the power plant's going to blow up. And
it's a nuclear power plant.
yeah, it's going
to be a big problem.
Yes. So they changed the valve and saved it. So the power plant operator, about a month later, gets his invoice, and it was for $10,000. So he calls the guy up, and he's mad. He's irate.
You were here for an hour.
Right, you were here for like 15 minutes. You're charging me $10,000. The expert goes, "Oh, I am so sorry. I must have sent you the wrong invoice. Let me resend you another one." So he sends him another invoice, and it says, on-site time to locate the faulty valve, $5. Knowledge of knowing which valve to replace, $9,995. So that's the same thing with diagnosing these problems with these cars. Our technicians are that expert, and their hourly rate shouldn't be calculated. If your techs find it within, so much time, good for them. I'm not saying to overbill your customers, but package these things up so you can deliver value with the checklist that we do, the information and the process that we go through, so the value is delivered with whatever you charge.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this person's name, God?
This person's name is Carmine from YouTube.
Carmine, understand something. Diagnosis never fixed anything. People are coming in to get their car or truck fixed. What you want to do is do a repair authorization. So you got to, as an advisor, you got to get good at understanding that, if you have a 3 Series BMW with a coolant leak, you know that the worst case scenario is the top of the radiator and it needs a radiator, right? So that's going to be $1,800. So customer comes in with a coolant problem, I present a repair authorization. So I say, hey, I'm going to give myself $1,800 to work with. If it's less, it'll be less. If it's more, I'll give you a call. But stop selling diagnosis. Diagnosis doesn't fix anything. And it causes so much work for you because you got to call them again. You got to sell it again. I want to know right up front, do you want the car fixed or not? Usually it's the check engine light usually is an O2 sensor or whatever. An O2 sensor's $600. I'm going to give myself $600 to work with. If it's more, I'll give you a call. If it's less, it'll be less. But the technician doesn't have to pull the car in and out. You don't have to spend a bunch of time. It actually saves the customer money in diagnosis because the tech can put in the O2 sensor, recheck it, and you know what it is. How many times do you have to call the customer twice because you replace the upper radiator hose and then it's the radiator?
Lower.
And so you're wasting time by thinking in those terms. Those terms are industry terms. They're not customer terms. Customers, for the most part, now there are customers out there that are cheap or shop, but 80% of customers coming in value time and just want it fixed right. And they're not going to take it out and take it somewhere else, but you're setting your barometer to that 10 or 20% of customers. So get some money to work with and fix the car. Stop thinking in terms of diagnosis.
Can I ask a question?
Only if you
raised your
hands.
hand?
I did.
Nice.
If you're listening, everybody, Jeremy raised his hand like he's in class.
I'm a realist and I'm in the real world, so I do have a question that Carmine may be running into.
Carmine, you gotta roll the R, white boy.
You said YouTube. I thought he was from Utah.
Could be both, for sure.
So what if it's an intermittent stalling issue? Check engine light is on. There's a noise from the right front area, and there's like 5 or 6 different concerns. So how do you...
What kind of car?
BMW.
What year?
Big money waster. Doesn't matter what year. They're all...
No, it doesn't. No, it does matter.
2012.
So the thing you want to understand here is you're bringing your experience in. So a 3 Series is different than a 7 Series. 200,000 miles is different than 50,000 miles. A 1986 is different than a 2016. So it does matter.
Okay, so 2012 750.
And all those things are wrong?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to give myself $2,500 to work with.
I was thinking 3.
Yeah. I need a starting point. I need... No car is going to get fixed for $250 in diagnosis.
Well, no, I don't disagree with that.
And all we're doing is creating more work for ourselves. It's so archaic. No customer ever expects that. We put them there.
Yep.
That's our doing.
Yeah, right when we say it's going to be 140.
When your car breaks down, and you don't own a shop, you're not us. When your car breaks down, you think it's $1,000.
Okay,
It's $1,500. If you're driving down the freeway and the engine stops, you're like, This is probably $5,000.
Yeah. Where's the Shih Tzu?
You have a number in your head, anyways.
Well,
And then you come in and we're like,
understand-
well, we need $175 in diagnosis.
That's not
Then
how
we're going
we
to call
sell
you,
it.
and you're
That's
not
not
going to be able to pick up the phone because you're in a meeting.
No, that's
and
not
then you're
how
going
we
to
do
call
it.
us back,
No,
and our
that's not how we do
advisor's
it.
taking a 2-hour lunch. And
That's not how we do it.
then once we do it, that actually won't fix it, and we're going to need more money. And I don't know, it's going to take about 2 weeks.
I like the concept. I'm just for our listeners and our viewers, there are going to be some of them that still need a line item diagnostic time because that's
If anybody just tries this, I've never had anybody try it and come back and say it doesn't work.
It works.
Never had anybody do it. And the other thing is, so let's say you're a little BMW customer, 2014,
2012, 750.
2012, 750. How many miles? You never told me.
132.
Oh, well, that thing's you should put that thing in a record at this point. They're disposable at 100,000 miles. But anyways, let's say you're.
So wait, you're walking the customer over to the sales department and selling them a new car at that point?
It was a joke.
I know. This is why consumers don't trust dealerships.
Run the jokes by Christian first. Let's say the customer goes, "Oh, I don't want to spend $3,000. I only have $200."
They never say that.
But just
They don't
stick
say
with me for a second. What if they did?
That's when you
Do you want to know now or when your tech has 4 hours into it?
My tech wouldn't have 4 hours into it if they only had $200.
No, what I'm saying is if you say, "Hey, I'm going to give myself $3,000 to work with,"
Right.
and they go, "Oh, I only have $200." Now you know where you're at.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I do agree with that. But my question on this is, so, okay, I authorized $3,000. That's going to fix my car.
No, I said if it's more, I'll give you a call. If it's less, it'll be less.
Okay.
I'm just giving myself something to work with, and
Plus,
I'm
that's such
using
a
my
win,
I'm
too.
using my best experience, knowledge to kind of point it. I know that if it's a 3 Series and it's the power steering, it's probably the rack and it's going to be $1,200. I know if it's an O2 sensor on a Toyota Corolla, it's going to be $225. Like I kind of know what happens. And I'm not committing to that.
What if they
I'm
don't
not
know-
diagnosing it.
What if you don't know what the code is? What if the check engine light's on, they don't know what the code is?
I don't know what's average. $500.
I,
I'm going to give myself $500 to work with.
You're going to play the field on the craps table is what you're basically doing, right? You're trying to hedge your bets a little bit. If it's this car, it's got this
It's
symptom on it.
obviously harder for
Yeah.
a shop than a dealership to do this.
I don't know if I would let you guys work on my car.
I don't know. We'd always be transparent.
I'm not feeling comfortable right now with this.
Well,
You're being kinda
that's
vague with
because
the
of your
dollar.
childhood, and they didn't tell you
my
that
childhood? I
they
didn't have a childhood.
Yeah, you weren't told you were loved enough. But we love you, Jeremy, and that's
Totally.
what's important. Maybe we left that out.
So-
we love you, and
No,
now
no.
you need to authorize the $3,000.
I want everybody to know the reason why I bought a shop is to get real world data and bring it back to our clients. I will do research on this and I'm going to try your guys' method and I'm going to track it. The next 25 diagnostic cars that we get, I'm going to track the results and see if we could. Because
I think you'll be
it is something
surprised.
that should work,
I really
Yeah,
do.
just understand that the difference is stop talking about diagnosis and start talking about fixing it.
Yep.
And I want to know. I want to know if you want to fix it or not. Like sometimes the customers will say, "Well, only call me if it's more than 5,000." Okay.
No problem.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, got it.
Yep.
I want to know where they're at, but I want to assume at the time of write-up that we're fixing the car.
Okay.
I don't want to, like these advisors are projecting on customers, shop us.
Interesting.
That's what we're projecting by talking about diagnosis. No, nothing's ever been fixed with diagnosis.
That's a great point.
It never gets fixed. And they don't expect it. That's us. We're doing that.
Interesting.
How do you do the Carmen thing again?
Interesting. Carmen.
Carmen. So how do you do Karen?
Karen.
Oh, all right.
So
'Cause
white
Karen's
man.
been in the news a lot lately.
Hold on, I'm out of rapport with
Is
you. I
this
gotta
a
cross
segue?
my legs this thing.
Segue.
I've been really working on the segue lately. But yeah, so a lot of Karens, right? We got this Karen avatar.
Karen
now.
jokes?
Yeah, Karen jokes, everything like that. What do you call a group of Karens?
What do you call a group of Karens? Jeremy?
Like Karenesses, I have no idea.
Homeowners Association.
Good one. Okay, thank you, God. Good job.
You're
God,
welcome.
God brought his A game today.
Thanks for
He is
sparking
killing
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, stop talking about diagnosis. We're projecting failure on the customers. We're in the business of fixing stuff.
it's a whole new mindset. to
Your
think that
shop
we project
efficiency will
stuff.
go up.
Yeah.
Your parts department will love you. Right?
It could
important.
be the Band-Aid that you've needed for the
That
parts.
could be the
I
bridge
just realized that
that
you
you
guys-
need with parts.
I'm projecting the laziness and the unfulfilled orders into parts with my attitude. I will start to change.
I didn't say that. Some parts managers are useless. But you just can't say all. Right?
True. Well, the department could be.
Literally I've had parts managers where they have one brake rotor in stock.
Oh,
Like,
man.
yeah, I've seen some stuff.
3 spark plugs on a 4-cylinder.
Oh, it's funny. Well, good show, you guys.
Great show.
Excellent.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you again next week. Hope you have a great week. Try really hard to have some fun this week.
Have a fabulous week.
See you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified when we post new episodes. I'm Chris Collins, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Chris Bulldog Collins. And I'll see you again on the next episode.